Greetings all. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I am Ruslan Abdul Rahim. Let me just briefly introduce myself as we begin this fresh session of the Cultural Diplomacy Discourse series. I would like first and foremost to extend my gratitude and thanks to the National Department for Culture and Arts, also known as the Jabatan Kebudayaan dan Kesenian Negara JKKN, for giving me this opportunity to share some of my thoughts and musings. Now, my background has been one of evolving around the arts at various capacities. During the mid-80s, I was practicing advertising and design in the Malaysian private sector. Towards the 90s, I decided to take a hiatus and proceeded to further my studies in art and design, beginning from New York City in the early 90s and culminating in pursuing my doctoral research in the mid-90s in England. It was from here onwards that I returned to Malaysia just after the new millennium and embarked on an academic environment. Now, during my early years in academia, I was involved in promoting the arts at a societal level, from setting up an art gallery, now also known as the Segaris Art Centre, to being part of a non-profit group promoting design called Reka Negara. It was clear to me that knowledge sharing and dissemination had a key function in uniting communities at all levels. My present designation here as the Rector for the National Academy of Arts, Culture and Heritage, also known as ASWARA, has brought me right into the realms of that all-important synergy of the arts, culture and heritage. This, when brought about in higher learning, plays an equally vital role in the preservation of the arts, culture and heritage. I believe that this has never been more timely, that the tangible and intangible elements to be handed down to new generations is through education. The courses offered here at the Academy ranges from the performing arts until the visual arts. Now, uniquely, this encompasses not just, for example, Malay traditional dance such as Mayong, but classical Indian and Chinese dance are also included in the present curricula. Another approach here is also the provision of the master practitioner, or better known as an Adi Guru, is still being practiced. Our latest Adi Guru appointment was the Sape Adi Guru from Sarawak. Now, all these collaborative initiatives are constantly being incorporated into the various faculties in this academy. In turn, dynamic collaborative cultural projects, both national and international, are also done with all other related agencies of this ministry. Speaking of which, under the Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Culture, also known as MOTAC, and all its supporting agencies, it is, I believe, this synergy that brings forth the vital role of intercultural relationships. At times, differences in cultures seem to be overwhelming, but upon discovering certain nuances, it is apparent of common similarities stemming from historical factors. It is in these similarities that a strengthening of intercultural relationships is able to materialize. Now, let me draw your attention to this. I think the assimilation of one culture into another is possible if both sides are ready to mix traditions and foundations within one society. The merits of this process imply the replenishment of cultural heritage. Now, such a recent example of nations coming together can be seen in the recent listing of intangible cultural heritage of humanity under the auspices of UNESCO. If I can recall, Malaysia, Brunei, Indonesia, Singapore and Thailand have jointly submitted the traditional kebaya blouse to be included in the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization UNESCO representative list of intangible cultural heritage of humanity. Now, historically, the kebaya originated in the court of the Majapahit Empire in eastern Java. This garment then went on to become very popular among communities and its neighbouring ASEAN countries. Its versatility made the kebaya adaptable to the cultural elements of each member nation, which suited their respective culture. In Malaysia, the kebaya holds significant cultural importance to numerous communities. Predominantly, the Peranakan community are one among such many as the Malay and Siamese. Now this is in terms of identity and heritage for all. This joint collaboration is, I see, a representation of diverse and yet rich and shared history in promoting a deeper and more meaningful cross-cultural understanding. Now I believe that a notable aspect of a shared intangible cultural heritage has the transient ability to transcend physical boundaries and forge new strong bonds of connections among ASEAN member countries. This is of course due to the obvious diverse and rich cultural heritage and landscape of each country and their notable efforts in successfully preserving their respective intangible cultural heritage elements while simultaneously discovering common threads that bind them all together. Through shared customs, traditions, rituals, performing arts, oral traditions, craftsmanship augmented with other manifestations of intangible cultural heritage, the ASEAN countries have able to foster a firm yet strong sense of solidarity and at the same time continue to promote cross-cultural understanding. These heritage elements have today become a critical and crucial medium for intercultural dialogue, cooperation, and more importantly, a succinct appreciation among all member nations. It is clear in these present times that the ASEAN community recognizes the importance and criticality of safeguarding and promoting intangible cultural heritage. The abundance of various initiatives and programs that have previously and concurrently materialized are evident of the much needed implications. It is, I believe, through education, cultural exchange initiatives, awareness campaigns, capacity building workshops, together with establishing new cultural centers, will continue to foster significant roles in raising the visibility and understanding of intangible cultural heritage both within and beyond the ASEAN borders. In addition, future collaborative projects and knowledge-sharing endeavours will be key and instrumental in strengthening cultural ties, thus fostering a renewed sense of unity. The ramifications are obvious since the passing of the COVID-19 pandemic which engulfed the entire world. It has to be said here that the sharing of expertise, resources, and also best practices will culminate to an increased awareness and appreciation of this region's diverse cultural heritage. This will obviously then lead to a continued preservation and transmission for generations to come. I'd like to also now share another initiative on the academic platform that leads to this continued preservation and transmission. Early this year of 2023, Aswara's Faculty of Animation and Multimedia presented a hybrid workshop. Now, the highlight of this particular workshop was presenting the teaching of the traditional theatre dance movements of the Mak-Yung, but in the Metaverse. It was, in my view, a rather enlightening experience for all involved, including the Mak-Yung Adiguru. As stated, the Mak-Yung was earlier proclaimed in year 2005 as a UNESCO Intangible Cultural Heritage of Humanity. Now, the challenge then was to identify strategies and initiatives to disseminate this particular cultural heritage to the next generation. Now, one can go about by conventional means of involving various individuals and communities to continue by having performances both on a local and global scale. But through higher education, I believe the reach towards the next generation is equally effective with the assistance of digital technology. Open-ended digital reality and cultural connecting virtual worlds can pivot the preservation and knowledge dissemination. The emergence of the Metaverse brings forth a sense of presence in the context of virtual reality. This is where one's sense of being in the virtual world resonates to the physical reality. A bit of a background, the Mak-Yung is an ancient Malaysian theatre which combines acting, gestures, vocalization, accompanied by instrumental music and elaborate costumes. The Mak-Yung is performed as a form of entertainment, but it also has a mystical practice to it. It was in the Mak-Yung demonstration the all in the masterclass that the Adiguru utilized both hardware and software systems to deliver her performance in the Metaverse. Now all the visual details of her costume was also effectively captured so as to enhance the entire performance. The iteration made from the performance, movements could be magnified to a deeper understanding and of course scrutinized into a study. The merits of this short workshop session resulted in 3 key items. Okay? The first being authenticity. The second, collective engagement between not just the audience but the students and also the Mak Yong Adiguru. And last but not least, most important of all, the new knowledge which is being shared by all. Now it has to be acknowledged that in spite of the challenges of this new digital technology, Metaverse platforms are undeniably strategic tools for traditional knowledge awareness and social gathering on a global scale. I believe firmly that future research can focus on designing social features for the curation of virtual space and digitalized documentation which can retain the authenticity of traditional performing arts. This includes also a performance aura. Okay, now the Metaverse also has the potential as a social gathering space for artistic and intellectual discourse. This can obviously instill the initiative of safeguarding localized cultural heritage, both tangible and intangible, for the present and future generations. In conclusion, at this juncture, the intangible cultural heritage which fringes together ASEAN countries serves as an extremely powerful force in strengthening their bonds and at the same time providing and promoting mutual respect and understanding. As all the member countries move forward, it is observed as imperative that we all continue to position intangible cultural heritage at the forefront of our respective priorities. Now this, I believe, must continue as ensuring its safeguarding key promotional initiatives and the transmission via knowledge dissemination for the benefit of present and, more importantly, the future generations. We collectively have much to lose if we do not sustain our collaborative efforts. The very fabric of the ASEAN peoples will be very much at stake. It is with this, I believe, that this is an ongoing battle that we all must continue in order to preserve our identity through culture. And lastly, I thank you all for attending this session. Do stay well and stay safe.